आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। कटाक्षकिरणाचान्तनमन्मोहाब्धये नमः।
कटाक्षकिरणाचान्त
कटाक्षकिरणाचान्तनमन्मोहाब्धये
नमन्मोहाब्धये
नमः।
नमः।
अनन्तानन्दकृष्णाय
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 जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये।
a long gap. I think, remember, right? We were doing the 17th verse, right?
Yes.
Page 175, second para.
Interesting. तथाप्याभाति कोऽप्येषः विचाराभावजीवनः अवश्यायश्चिदाकाशे विचाराकोदयावधीः तथा अपि आभाति कोऽपि एषः कः अपि एषः विचार अभावजीवनः. The word starts with the word tatha. Since we had a long gap, would somebody like to go into what is the tatha? Tatha usually would be yatha tatha will be the combination. So when it requires, here an api is also there, tatha api. Even then what? Relating to what is he talking about? The api says relate to the previous mantra or previous sloka. What is the previous sloka?
Ajnanam.
Yeah, go ahead.
It talks about Ajnanam. Even though Ajnanam cannot affect Atma, we talked about how Ajnanam resides in the Atma, but it's Kalpita, and that Atma is not affected by Ajnanam. Even then, so it kind of comes to this verse where it says, it somehow covers the Atma, as though covers the Atma like a mist. And it talks about lack of inquiry, which is what nourishes the Ajnanam. And
the previous verse said that Ajnanam, that I know, I don't know. Even then, even though I don't know, even then, the self doesn't reveal itself.
Atha also has an auspiciousness attached to that.
Go ahead, please. I can't hear you.
Auspiciousness. Atha also stands for auspiciousness.
No, but here it's not auspiciousness. Here it is to do with, even though it is like this, even then, even though I know I am in a state of not knowing, even though that is available, even then, this Atma is not known to anybody. Kaha api yesha. Yesha here means Atma. This Atma, this we are talking about, is not easily known. That's what we are talking about. Who will read?
Can I read, Swamiji?
Yes, please do.
Is it from second para, page
Read
175?
from the beginning, otherwise you will not have continuity.
Okay.
I don't know if you perhaps maintain continuity. I'm not sure everybody has.
No, I also want to.
Then it's better that read from the beginning.
Yadyapi, is that background noise from my side?
No. Maybe my fan is making a lot of noise.
Yadyapi ajnanam atmanam na sprishati tadyapi atmani ajnanam na vidyate. तथापि this अज्ञानम अप्रकाशः आत्मनि आभाति असमन्तात् भाति. It shines, it is there. To say aham na prakashe, aham ajnah iti. Though ajnanam is not there in Atma, even then koapi eshah avashayah abhati. This ajnanam appears like the morning mist. Mist, dew, frost, all these are called avashayah. Eshah means anubhava siddha, sakshi vedyah, experienced by sakshi atma. Why koapi? Because this ajnanam is sat asat bhyam anirvachaniyam. You can neither accept it as sat nor can you dismiss it as asat. Therefore, it is anirvachaniya. Why is this ignorance likened to avashyayah, a mist? Because it as though covers. How long will it be there? He says, vicharar kodayavadihi vichara bhava jivanaha. This avashyaya, this cloud of ignorance, this mist of ignorance is vichara bhava jivanaha. Its jivanam, life, its longevity is dependent entirely upon the absence of inquiry.
Vichara bhava jivana. Because we don't think enough about this. So vichara abhava jivana. This jivanam, life is, go ahead.
Its longevity is dependent entirely upon the absence of inquiry, vichara, because this ajnanam is opposed to jnanam, like even darkness, which is opposed to light. The none here is virodharthe. Its end is the rise of the clear knowledge sun, born of adequate vichara. But vichara is not a pramana. Shastra alone is the pramana.
Before you go further, that's clear. We're talking about ajnanam is there. It is beginningless, we know that. But it can go. It is there and it will go. In the wake of knowledge, ajnanam will go. Like a fog in the morning, in winter times in the north, you will get this quite heavily. When the sun comes out, arkaha, when sun comes out, the fog disappears. Like that, when jnanam comes, vichara is there, and therefore jnanam comes, fog disappears, and ajnanam disappears.
But vichara is not a pramana. Shastra alone is the pramana. Then why vichara bhava jivanaha? Because this person's question begins with, you say that I am Brahman. That means he has already heard this. He had already heard the Shastram. When he has already heard you are Brahman and still he has a doubt and raises questions, this fellow requires vichara. Tattvam pada vichara. Okay, so it's saying that if there was no Shastra in the picture, he won't even know that there is a possibility of
just
being
by doing
Brahman.
vichara, we will not know. Vichara is not adequate. That is why it said, no, that this is knowledge that cannot be got merely by tarka, by logic, by analysis. It cannot be got. Very simple, because it is not an object we are looking for. So he says here that, in fact, if you look at this a little carefully, vichara is only one more step. The whole process starts with something bothering the mind. That something could be, why am I subject to grief and sadness? Is there a way of dealing with it? This is one. It could be that I've thought through very carefully, and I think I know what I want is shanti or sukha. And I know that I've experienced some sukha in the world. But having experienced the sukha through various means, through some achievement, through some material wealth, through some security and so on. But this sukha I experienced, but then that doesn't give me what I want. So that also raises inquiry. Why is the sukha not lasting? Why is it that sukha that I can gain temporarily, it's really not sukha, it's more like comfort? Why doesn't it last? Can I make it last? In fact, all our efforts are to try and increase the length of time of the sukha. But it doesn't stay. Or if it is something, it's like a one-time achievement. You achieved it, fine, then what? Either more of the same becomes the want, or something else becomes a want. So that can be another reason why we are starting this search. In any case, we have to have some level of confidence in the fact that our rishis knew something more than I do. Somewhere that thing must be there at the back, for which we were very lucky to be born here. Despite all the whitewashing we've been done in the last several hundred years, somewhere in the back of the mind, there is a value for this knowledge. We don't know what the knowledge is. We've never been exposed to the knowledge, but we know there is some. That Shraddha is there. With that Shraddha and with this inquiry, and if you have adequate punya, then one can actually go into an inquiry mode, vichara. Vichara is one more step. Then what happens? With adequate punya, maybe we have access to the Shastra. We try and read it ourselves, it doesn't work. And with even more punya, we have access to a guru. And then he or she will make us understand what is it that you're trying to find out. What is it that you want? With the help of the guru, we get that. Parama Purushartha. The guru really helps us understand what I am looking for. Because primary problem in all humanities, we don't know what we're looking for. And when he helps us understand that, then he also helps us understand how am I going to get that? Is it possible to get it in the first place? And if it is, how am I going to get it? That the Guru will really outline for us. And there, the importance of Shastra comes in. So the confidence, the Shraddha is in Guru Shastra Vakyeshu. Both have to be there for us. The Shraddha has to be there for us to take the next step of accepting the Shastra as a Pramana. Again, that requires a lot of vichara. Why should I accept Shastra as a Pramana? One is I have a thing in the background saying that I have respect for Shastra. Because I have respect for our heritage and culture, I have respect for rishis, therefore I have something. But our logical mind will still ask the question, why that as the source of knowledge? Why should Shastra be my source of knowledge for this particular aspect? So you do a lot of vichara on that also. You will study a lot. Maybe the Guru will help understand why Shastra is a Pramana. Why not something else? You could ask questions like, why can't psychology be the Pramana to understand yourself? Even when the Guru has outlined it and shown to you that the real answer lies in knowing who really are. Oh, I will study psychology and I will know. You won't. Psychology studies only the mind. Subject matter of psychology is the mind, which is a Jadavastu. So any form of others might argue, you are saying it is the Veda, and somebody else may say, no, why can't it be the Bible? Okay, look at the Bible and see if it fulfills the criteria to be called a Pramana. So that analysis, that vichara has to be done. And thoroughly, so that one gets clear that the only Pramana available to reveal the truth of myself is Shastra, Veda. So that process has to be gone through. And then once you accept that as the Pramana, then with the help of a Guru, over a period of time, one understands this, one gradually drops all the wrong assumptions that are stuffed in the head, and comes a time when everything becomes clear. Therefore, vichara is only a couple of intermediate steps if we want. But without vichara, you can't get there. Vichara is definitely necessary. Yes, Divyansh.
Swamiji, there is one more term, Shastra Sammat Tarka. Like we can't apply any logic. But
no, logic we have to apply. Therefore, your brain must be quite sharp. So, Shastra Anukula Tarka is the word phrase we use.
Yes.
Mere Tarka is not adequate at all. Only when that logic is understood with the help of the Shastra, because you accept Shastra as a Pramana. Shastra Anukula Tarka. Only then there's a hope that we will gain this knowledge. You're right. Shastra Anukula Tarka.
No, so let's say I have Shastra, but like this knowledge should be able to defend itself with any Tarka, right? So I should be able to explain like why it is not like that. Or...
You have to do it the right way. The sequence is to be maintained. You don't go fishing around everywhere at one go. That's why Shraddha becomes important. Once you have Shraddha in the Guru and in the Shastra, you remain consistent there for as long as it takes for you to come to a certain level of understanding. There also you need a lot of Tarka, because your Tarka will help you clear up a lot of the notions that we already carry. Number one. Number two, it will clear up, help you to receive inputs from elsewhere, other books, other granthas, other people. We know a lot of people arguing with us in our own circles. It's normal. And they will have their own sense of argument. I remember one fellow, in early days of my studies, was following this Brahmakumaris. And he was arguing with me that Bhagavad Gita is not good. Look at his argument. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan talks about I, Lord Krishna, not Bhagavan. He thinks Lord Krishna. I, mine. That is not the thing. The real, according to him, the real Ishvara is Shiva. So he's trying to convince me to drop Bhagavad Gita and join him in following Brahmakumaris. But look at the error. You can spot the error where his argument is fallacious. To do that, you need tarka. You need to understand what the Shastra says. You need to understand what the Bhagavad Gita says. And to be able to refute it. Another one I remember when somebody came to me and said, no, there's no reincarnation. I said, fine, how do you say that? Where is your pramana? He said, no, I don't need a pramana because you're all claiming reincarnation because you're all afraid of death. Therefore, reincarnation, we keep saying. Now, you're going to have to figure out where the error is. The statement is probably correct. Humanity is, one of the biggest fears is the fear of death. And that fear of death comes because of dehabhimana. Because of not understanding that what dies is the sharira. And I am not the sharira. But they have their own argument. And when they argue with you, they'll argue very vehemently. You don't have to make them understand your point of view. If they have not studied the Shastra, they may not even understand. There is absolutely no point getting into heated argument with such people. A, because our own capacity is limited. Our own understanding is still not right there on top. And even if you have, some people have such strong preconceived notions that no amount of logic will appeal to them. They've already made up their mind. So in that perspective, Divyansh, you're right. We have to have what two types of mind if we want. One is what you can think of as a sukshma buddhi. A buddhi which is thoroughly prepared to receive this knowledge and assimilate it. Other is a razor-sharp brain. To be able to see any tarka, see where is, if anybody comes and argues saying that there is Dvaitam, there's a fallacy somewhere. And if you follow his or her logic, there will be a point at which there's a problem with the logic. You know, it is like, I don't know, many of you have done this all day, I'm sure. In school, I remember we used to try and prove or help, but to prove, get your classmates and say, I can prove what 1
equals 0.
1 plus 0 is 1. No, 1 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus, something like that we used to do. But clearly in the thing, there is in the steps, there's a tarka problem here, there's a logic problem. Like that, there also you'll have some logic problem will be there. But unless your own mind is sharpened enough, one may not be able to easily spot it. In fact, one of the biggest strengths of Adi Shankaracharya was this. He was able to look at anybody's logic and see where is the problem. And he would use, he talked only about astikas, not nastikas. Because you quote the Upanishads and the other texts for support. And if you accept that as a pramana, then you'll quote from everywhere. Shruti, Smriti, Itihasa, everywhere you'll quote from. So here, vichara is not a pramana. Vichara is only one step. Vichara is required at various stages for various purposes. But if you think you're going to learn it by doing only because I have a very sharp brain, I will understand this. Obviously, in many places in the Upanishads, they tell us it's not going to work. And we know why. That's why Swamiji says Vichara is not pramana. Shastra alone is a pramana. Then why Vichara abhava jivanaha? Yeah, let's continue the reading.
Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam, he has to do vichara. Can you, Swami, clarify what is this term again? Anvaya Vyatireka?
We have used it many times. When you use logic, if A happens, B will happen. Right? This is one. But you also should be able to say, if A does not happen, B will not happen. There are two things. If there is smoke, there must be fire. Correct? But if there is fire, there is no guarantee there should be smoke. So the thing is to complete the whole argument. Both should work. Anvaya Vyatireka. Yeah.
How does it fit in this context?
In the vichara you do, see, in all your logical vichara that you do, you'll always associate one with the other, right? That's how logic works.
Yeah.
But it should work the other way also. In our, it is all to do with the world. All logic is to do with the world. The moment you talk about Atma, it may not work. Because you're talking about two different orders of reality. Like what happened in the Swapna and what happened in the Jagrat, this may not necessarily be true. What you see in the Swapna has to be known in the Jagrat.
Yeah.
Correct? But you look at the other way around. What I don't know in the Swapna does not necessarily mean I don't know in Jagrat. Because you don't predict all of them. So this logic works on both sides should work, so it's a complete logic.
Okay, so relationship between A and B and A, both should be specified.
Both should be correct.
Okay. There is no Tatparya Nishchaya for him who hasn't done the vichara. He has a problem of asambhavana. There again, there can be pramana asambhavana, prameya asambhavana, and viparita bhavana. Asambhavana is not clear, right?
Yeah.
Varieties of problems one can have. So, in spite of Tattvamasi, the pramana being there, still there is no jnanam for this person. You cannot say pramana does not generate knowledge. It has to, because when the vakya is properly stated, it has to produce jnanam. But then, it may be jnanam along with many pratibandhakas. Pratibandhakas means something is inhibiting that knowledge from taking place, as though it is not taking place. That something is what we call avichara. Avichara means lack of vichara or absence of vichara, or it can be durvichara. Improper vichara. It can be taken as alparthe nan. Then avichara can mean inadequate vichara, or it can be taken as abhavarthe nanch, meaning absence of vichara. But Swamiji, only vichara is not required, right? The readiness of mind is also. But readiness of mind is also.
What of mind?
Readiness of mind that we say ragadveshas.
If you don't have readiness of mind, no amount of vichara will get you. If you don't have vichara, any amount of readiness of mind will not get you. These are all necessary steps.
The absence of proper inquiry alone is the jivanam, livelihood of ajnanam. At this point, we cannot say pramana abhava because he has been asking questions. Therefore, vichara abhava is the problem. Vichara abhava eva jivanam yasya or vichara abhave jivanam yasya, whose life longevity is entirely on the account of the absence of
Whose
proper
whose life longevity is he talking about?
ajnanam,
Ajnana, the life or longevity of Ajnana.
is entirely on account of the absence of proper adequate vichara. So, Swamiji, this vichara, are we talking about nididhyasan or the second? What was that? Mananam.
Mananam and Nididhyasana will require. Your data input comes from
Shravanam.
Shravanam. Shravanam data input itself will contradict what you think you know. So first there itself you have to do vichara.
That is Mananam.
Then you go into depths of that understanding, because it's not very easy to give what I think I know.
Yes.
For us, it is a matter of ego, a matter of I think I know. And then something comes up and says, no, it is diametrically opposite. Then you want to argue. But if you are honest to yourself, I like a phrase called intellectually honest, then you can examine that.
This ajnanam is very safe as long as the vichara has not taken place. Vichara implies, okay, so like basically we are saying that ajnanam is not merely removed by jnanam. We need to do vichara again and again for this
Ultimately,
kind of.
only by jnanam. But
yes.
to get to that state of jnanam, vichara becomes a necessary condition.
Yes, because there is viparit bhavana.
Vichara becomes necessary condition, preparation of mind becomes necessary condition. And removal of various obstacles along the way becomes necessary. How do you remove that? By getting the mind ready, you do through karma yoga. Correct? And for vichara, you have to have a ability to accept that there may be another view which may be correct, not necessarily what I have. That is also necessary. Then all the pratibandhas you have to remove. How are you going to remove the pratibandhas? Through various punya karma. So the act of japa, the act of meditation, all of these are meant to prepare the mind readily, give the mind ekagrata, and with that ekagrata, with that, what is the word I want is not humility, but a clarity that I need to learn. I want to know.
Jignasu.
With that kind of thing, only can you move forward.
Vichara implies Shravana, Manana,
Answer to your
Nididhyasana.
question is already here.
Okay, all three, yes. Shravanam is Pramana Vichara. Mananam and Nididhyasanam are with reference to Prameya alone. All three come under Vichara. Pramana Vichara is for Tatparya Nishchaya, to understand the Shastra Tatparya. And the Tatparya of the Shastra is in the Prameya Vishaya. What is to be understood is the Prameya, with reference to which there can be doubts, etc., and they have to be eliminated. For which vichara, enquiry is necessary. For Tatparya Nishchaya, even for finding out what the Shruti says, you require vichara, and that is Pramana Vichara. Then the second one is Prameya Vichara. Prameya Gata Shanka Nivrityartham Mananam. The third one is, what is prameya? Prameya in this case, Swamiji?
Prameya is what is to be known, object to be known.
But that is already in the pramana, right? Pramana says
No.
about the Atma.
See, at the pramana level itself, there can be two types of doubt. One is, why should this be my pramana? Let's say I accept that I have to understand myself, the truth of myself. Up to that point I've come. How do I know it? What is my pramana? There itself is a big question. Then vichara has to be. Like I said, you have to do a lot of thinking about what is the definition of a pramana which fits. And therefore, which is a pramana which will fit the definition. There's a separate study on pramana vichara. Then once you accept that, then what does the pramana say? Tattvamasi is only one simple sentence, but what the vivaksha, what is it trying to convey to us? That is another level of pramana vichara. Then once, because when we start this sadhana, how many of us know what we're looking for? Hardly anybody. Even if I've heard something like moksha, I'm not sure what it is. I can spew words. I can say it is where I get rid of birth and death. What does it mean? What is this moksha? So then I have to go to understand that prameya is what is only jnanam. How to understand that? So prameya vichara, pramana vichara done, prameya vichara, then what is that? If I have to know this object or this whatever this thing is that I'm trying to look for, how should I go about doing it? One is to say, okay, this is a pramana, so I'm going to follow this. There are many people who will interpret the same pramana differently. There are people who define moksha differently from the way we define it. But that, in my opinion, is a certain incomplete vichara. Not a durvichara, but incomplete vichara. Somewhere you driven off course. So that will also be there. That has to be, again, a lot of vichara needs to be done. What is moksha? With that definition itself, one has to understand, why should I not define it like this? Why should it be like this? All this will require vichara. That's where I'm advising that at the stage when we're trying to understand, once you've accepted this pramana and you've accepted a guru, follow it. You will already have some ideas in your head. And more people keep filling more ideas into your head. Listen to them. Don't get swayed at that stage. Once a certain level of clarity emerges, then you maybe study all the others also. See, you look at people like Ramanujacharya or Madhavacharya, they are not simple people, they're extremely powerful thinkers. But they have a different interpretation of moksha. Somewhere you have to, that much study and understand where they've done what they've done, why have they done what they've done. There is an analysis that I, in fact, did some translation for. And analysis, at the end of it, I forget his name, he's done a beautiful, he says, these darshanas, although the astika darshanas, although the acharya is probably very good, has very well understood the reality, but he felt that his followers will not easily understand. Therefore, he diluted it for their sake. Therefore, you talk about Vaikuntha, you talk about Goloka, Vrindavan, so on and so forth. That's a possibility. Another possibility, they themselves genuinely misunderstood. But what I'm saying is that people like Ramanujacharya and Madhavacharya are brilliant in their own way. So it's unlikely that they would have not understood the truth. My guess. There is also another possibility. Somebody like Buddha, for example. Buddha had a group of different groups of Shishyas. Now you have various forms of Buddhism, no? Each one its own philosophy. You have Shunyavadis in Buddha, you have Kshanakavadis in Buddha. We don't know exactly what Buddha told them. There is a very good possibility that these Shishyas were not ready. And therefore they took what was given to them as they understood it. And then that perpetuated in different lines. Even Christ, there are 4 different Bibles. And slightly, each one is different than the other. And then you see some of the statements that are made in the commonly used statement. I'm not talking about having to sit down and read the Bible. They look like they are genuine statements taken from the Upanishads, translated. But that statement itself is reread differently. Perhaps the Shishyas were not ready. But this we should be able to see the logic behind. So that's why all the discussion about saying that Tarka by itself is inadequate. In fact, will actually send you up a gum tree. It's not the way to gain this knowledge. But somebody else follows us at Tarka, not to be swayed, but to see where the Tarka is leading to a fallacy. That we should be able. I mean, very simply, any Dvaitam limits the sense of Ishvara. And any Dvaitam in any form cannot explain Ekameva Advitiyam in the Upanishad itself. These are the words of the Upanishad. Cannot explain that. So you will find that in their own analysis, their own commentary, they will gloss over this. Or they will give it a twist. Like Tattvamasi, they say Atattvamasi. Now, even if you accept their interpretation Atattvamasi, why do you need such big text to say Atattvamasi? Everybody knows. Who doesn't know that in this world of so many billions of people, almost everybody knows I am different from everything else. I am different from Ishvara. Why do you need a text for that? Why do you need a grantha? Why do you need a teacher? Why do you need 12-year study of the scriptures? You don't need that. So that itself is a strong argument to say that there's something wrong in the way they're thinking. If the truth is different from what majority of people think they know, only then sitting down and studying, understanding makes sense. If the truth is the same as what everybody thinks, then why do you need to study anything? So much of time, effort, so much of brain work, all that will not get you anywhere. You already know what you're trying to study. So you look at some of the key issues like that. There also, if you go and get into a debate with them, I can tell you they'll come up with all kinds of arguments. But let them be where they are.
The third one is Prameya Gata Viparita Bhavana Nivrityartham. For that alone is Nididhyasanam. It is all Jnana Sadhanam, which in one word is called Vichara. The ignorance is defined here as vichara abhava jivanaha. Its life, its longevity is entirely dependent upon vichara abhava. Yad vicharam na sahate tat ajnanam. Eshaha is prakritaha. What is under discussion? Prakrita aprakashaha vichara bhava jivanaha. And further, it is vichar kodaya
Vichara arkodaya. Arka udaya. What is
Okay.
Arka? Arka is sun.
Sun.
Arka udaya avadihi.
Avadihi. Vichara arka udaya avadihi. Vichararkaha means vichara, inquiry will produce this arka, the sun of knowledge. Vicharena praptaha arkaha vichararkaha. Tasya arkasya jnanasya udayah vichararkodayah. The rise of the sun of knowledge born of inquiry. The sunrise is the knowledge born of vichara. Vichara itself is not the sun, but vichara born knowledge is the sun. Vichararkodayah avadhihi yasya. Aprakashasya vichararkodayavadhihi. When the vichara arka udaya takes place, when the knowledge sun rises, it marks the end of the ajnanam. The aprakasha is qualified by two words. Vichara abhava jivanaha, vichararkodayavadhihi. Both bahuvihi compounds, which define what is ajnana. These definitions mean sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyatvam. Why? Because if it is not there, it will have no jivanam. It is seen, but vichara abhava alone jivanam yasya. Its presence is dependent entirely upon the absence of vichara, inquiry. Lack of vichara is already prapta. Lack of vichara is swabhava siddha, so vichara is to be done. Therefore, vichara alone is to be undertaken and tatreva purusharthaha tava. That is why gurumeva bhigachet.
Gurumeva abhigachet. If you want,
Gurumeva
one wants to
abhigachet.
understand this, then Mundaka Upanishad, tad vijnanartham samitpanihi gurumeva abhigachet. Go to a guru who is a Shrotriya Brahmanistha.
In the footnote, it's mentioned that Shrotavyah mantavyah nididhyasitvavyah. Iti jnana vidhi is there because it has to be initiated. Because until the vichara starts, this ajnana rules the roost, not simply exists. The jivatvam is there until vichara takes place. Vicharam na sahate. Until you do not bring light, because this fellow is naktancharaha.
Naktancharaha is one who moves about in the night. Who moves about in the night? Thief.
Owl?
Thief.
Okay.
Thief.
Okay.
In fact, if you in Rudram, Naktancharabhya Prakrito, they're also Naktanchara. In Rudram, everybody is prayed to, including thieves. The Naktancharaha, Nakta is night, Charaha is movement. Naktancharaha is the one who moves at night. Nocturnal.
For this jiva, ajnana is his bread and butter. His lifeline is ajnana alone. Ajnana is vichara abhava jivanaha. It is avarana atmaka. That alone we are dealing with. Vikshepatmaka, maya, etc. is only vyavaharik drishtya. When we are talking about bandha moksha here, it is avaranatmaka maya that causes samsara. Why do we say so? It is avashyayaha, means morning fog. Because of this fog, you don't see everything. Nama rupas are seen, but aham brahma asmi is covered. It is not seen. Swamiji, so this, when we are talking about vichara, right? So we have this, it is both aspects, right? It is avarana and vikshepa. So only avarana is we are talking about.
What is being said here. Our knowledge of the self is covered.
Yes.
That covering is avarana.
Yes.
Correct? The second part of it is that Swami says vyavaharika, because in the sense that I can live with the avarana, but the problem is I still have to have some concept of what is I. Correct? Because I exist. I can't deny that. I exist. Therefore, I must, in my own mind, feel, okay, this is what I means. The real I is already covered. That is avarana. That covering has to be removed to reveal the real I, the reality of I.
Okay.
So that's why you're saying avarana is what is. It's like a fog covering everything. Fog, basically, instead of sight, it blocks your sight. That's why in Delhi and other places in the north, every winter there are series of accidents. You can't see, fog covers it. Like that, this fog of ajnanam covers the truth of the self. So what you have to do is to remove that. How do you remove it? Vichara. Vichara produces arka, the sun of knowledge, light of knowledge, which then removes the ajnana. Otherwise, ajnanam has a whole brood of things happening. No? Ajnanam is like a root cause. But because of ajnana, what happens? Because of not knowing what the truth of I is, I then have a superimposition on I. I have to have an I somehow. And that universally becomes the body-mind sense complex. The moment you say body-mind sense complex, everything is limited. My body is limited, my mind is limited, my senses are limited, everything is limited. And my entire life, all this is born out of ajnana. I am working to try and reduce limitation in the body, in the mind, in the sense of happiness, in the sense of security. I'm trying to reduce them. That's what every human being is trying to do. What Shastra tells us that you can go that path, you can go on and on and on, you'll never end. There is no limit to that. Because what we're talking about is Purnatvam. You will never get there. Then how do I do this? Does that mean I'm stuck in this life, next janma, next janma, next janma? I'm stuck in all of that. How do we get out of this? Shastra says, study, do Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana to remove this covering of ajnanam, which is the root cause of all of these things, my want, my desires, my actions, my getting or not getting the end results. And if I get, I want more. If I don't get, I'm disappointed. All that follows from ajnanam. So you want to find a way of removing the Jnanam. That Ajnanam removal, Jnana Nivritti, is what Vedanta tries to teach us. Not so much worried about the next part of it.
But
Very logical.
one more.
Yeah.
One more question, Swamiji.
Sure.
I got your point, but it is saying that avaranatmaka maya is causing the samsara.
Correct.
But if we say that, like, even if only avarana is there, like in the deep sleep, there is no samsara for me. I'm pretty okay. But when I come up, then the vikshepa happens, the limited body mind appears. Then I say that it is samsara.
If there is no avarana,
That
there is
is,
no samsara.
then there is, yeah,
There is no
true.
samsara. That's what he's trying to say. Samsara arises out of avarana, which causes ajnana. The whole samsara is nothing but ajnana.
Okay, okay. ठीक है. Nama rupas are seen, but aham brahma asmi is covered. It is not seen. Therefore, aham samsari. The avashyaya, the fog is there until the sun rises and dispels it. Where does the fog appear? Akashe. Aprakasha, atma, ajnana. Where does it occur? Chidatmani. He combines both the example, Drishtanta, as well as the Darshtanta. It is Drashtanta, right?
No, Drishtanta is the upama, is the example. Drashtanta is the upama for what? That is Darshtanta.
Okay, Darshtanta. Okay. Avashyaya Chidakashe. This Aprakasha is Avakshaya. Chit is the Akasha. The atmosphere is filled with the fog, all because the sun has not yet risen. When the sun rises, the dew rolls away, everything gets cleared. Similarly, here, Chidakashe, Chidatmani, Nirmale, Akashe, Iva. Avashyayah, Kopi, Eshah, Aprakashah. Sat Asadbhyam, Anirvachaniyah, Vichara Bhava, Jivanah Asti, which is Badhita in the wake of Vichara Kodaya. We can also, Swamiji, this Chidakash is same as the consciousness, right? Or is there a difference?
Yeah.
Okay. We can also say that this Aprakasha is there till Vichar Arka, the sun rises. Sometimes we see the fog even after the sunrise also. There, sun has to be adequately bright to dispel the fog. Here, the knowledge sun must give adequate clarity. That is why we need vichara, because ajnana is vichara bhave jivanaha.
Very nice. We'll stop here today. Very clear. The way he's done the example was very interesting. Combined the Drishtanta and Darshtanta. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate